Hey, you! Yeah, you! Come over here. You like heavy metal? Like FPS games?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Well then, I've got the game just for you.
There was a soul. Had music inside. They called her the Unknown.
Metal Hellsinger has quickly become one of my most anticipated games of this year, and for good reason. I have put a couple of hours into this game's demo on both Steam and PS5, and while there are some issues, particularly with the PC version, my overall feelings on the game are very positive. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. So, first things first, what is Metal Hellsinger? Well, if you couldn't tell from the footage prior, it's a first-person rhythm shooter about a demon and her skull buddy Pax fighting through hell. What does this mean? Basically, shoot, reload, and dodge to the rhythm. The more in sync you are with the beat, the more damage you'll be doing. Now, I like rhythm games. I like first-person shooters. I also like heavy metal. But if you told me 5 years ago someone would be making a rhythm shooter with a heavy metal soundtrack, I would have said, "You're crazy," and "Get the hell out of my house, you psychopath." And if that wasn't enough to get me interested, the team behind Metal Hellsinger, The Outsiders, no relation to the classic novel, somehow got Serj Tankian on board, the lead singer of my favorite metal band, System of a Down. In other words, this game feels tailor-made for me. But how is the game based on the demo? Let's start with the technical part. So, firstly, if you want to play this demo with a controller on PC, you're shit out of luck. Because apparently, the mere act of connecting your controller, at least for me, causes the demo to instantly crash.
The first question that comes to mind that I want to ask is, why?
Whether you're in the game or connecting it preemptively on Steam before launching it. I have been able to replicate this multiple times, so here's hoping that gets patched soon. Next is the audio-visual calibration. Normally, when rhythm games do this, I usually can get it set up perfectly in one try, but I actually had a bit of trouble calibrating this game. I don't know if it's due to the calibration misreading my inputs. For reference, my mouse and keyboard are both wired, or I'm getting a bit rusty. So I'm willing to give the demo a pass on that, at least until I hear from my friends and see if they had issues calibrating as well.
I got my eye on you.
Now let's move on to the performance and graphics settings. I have a GTX 1080 Ti and an i7 6700K processor with 16 gigs of RAM. My CPU is admittedly a bit old, but for anyone who knows PCs knows the 1080 Ti is a monster. So generally I have an easy time running most of the games I play on high settings at around 80 to 90 FPS, barring some rare exceptions. So when I first loaded up the game, the graphics were set to high textures and medium everything else. With the exception of turning off motion blur because fuck that noise, I left these settings alone for my first run, and yeah, there are some problems. So most of the demo runs fine, until you get to the third room, where my FPS just dropped to the mid-50s. And for some reason, no matter what settings I had, the boss fight would stutter horribly for about 2 seconds after the cutscene.
Defy me a second time, unknown. That is unwise, and it will be your undoing.
It gets even worse on higher settings, as on high, the third room would drop to the low 40s. I didn't even attempt to see Ultra because I wasn't certain the game would even survive that. So clearly, the game needs more optimization on the PC side of things. However, if you have a console, at the very least, you're okay here, as testing the PS5 version, because I don't have a Series X, it did not have the stuttering problem at the boss fight, nor did it have a low frame rate issue. So the demo on consoles, at least for PS5, is generally okay. The only problem with that version is that you're playing with a controller. Thankfully, that is where my problems with the game end. Everything else is just stellar. The music is top-notch, the art design is on point, and the gunplay just feels so good. But that's to be expected, as the game lead of Metal Hellsinger was the game director of Payday 2 and lead designer on Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2. So it's no surprise that the gunplay feels like sex too. Now, probably one of the best things about this game is how the music and your combo meter are woven together. You see, they decided to take the dynamic music system from Devil May Cry 5 and put it into Metal Hellsinger. And God, I am so glad another game is doing this, because as much as I liked BPM, which was another rhythm shooter but as a roguelite, I did feel the music always being at its full capacity kind of made it feel underwhelming to play. This is not the case in Metal Hellsinger. There is nothing better than shotgunning an enemy and executing them for the vocals to kick in at the exact right moment.
Judge's second aspect, just wait first. The judge was an awful sore loser.
Now the demo has only one track currently that plays, but it is just so melodic. I didn't mind listening to it over and over, especially when the chorus hits. It is just pure ecstasy. The sound design is also really well done. The guns sound heavy and are perfectly mixed, so you can tell when you messed up on the beat, but not too loud so it overtakes the music. The sword slashes are visceral. The only weapon that could maybe use an audio touch up is Pax, but considering what it's designed to do, it really isn't that big of a deal. The design of the demons is also well done, making it easy to distinguish them from each other at a glance, allowing you to quickly prioritize your target and determine who's a bigger threat in the moment. When you're making an action game, it is incredibly important to make sure your enemies don't all blend together. If your players can't distinguish one enemy type from another, that's a problem, and it seems Metal Hellsinger took this into account. The controls also feel great, the gunplay is snappy, and although I did move around a couple keybinds, I didn't actually have to adjust much to get into a rhythm. The demo lets you play the first level with 4 weapons: Pax, the sword, the shotgun, and the dual revolvers, which names I can't remember unfortunately, each with their own rhythm styles and ultimate attacks. Pax is a low damage dealing skull that is meant to keep your combo meter up, and its ultimate summons a beam of energy down on the enemies that can actually freeze them if it doesn't kill them first. Your sword, while slow, hits incredibly hard if you time it perfectly, and can set up trash mobs for an execution in one hit. Its ultimate actually changes up the song tempo, allowing you to just smash the fuck out of the fire button for high burst damage. The shotgun is a slow, heavy-hitting ranged weapon great for taking down tankier enemies, and its ultimate fires a wave in a straight line to help clear ads. And finally, we have the dual revolvers, which are mid-range, high-precision weapons that deal extra damage with headshots, and can call a decoy that attacks enemies with this ultimate. Each weapon has a purpose and its own flow to the combat rhythm, all of which feel great to learn and master. Now, in terms of enemy variety, there isn't much from what I've seen, but this is a short 30-minute demo, so that could change in the full release, so keep that in mind. You have the trash mobs, the ranged heavy boys, the lanky skinwalkers, and the beer belly behemoths. Now, they may not feel like much of a challenge individually, but if you aren't careful, they can fuck your day up, or even worse, reset your combo meter back to 0. The overall structure and pacing of the demo is very well done. You're never in a room for more than, I want to say, 5 or 6 minutes if you know what you are doing. And I never felt trapped or claustrophobic in the rooms either. It is a bit more linear than you might expect, but considering what type of game this is, it's probably for the best. The boss fight was quite a bit of fun as well. She would electrify parts of the arena, summon mobs of enemies to back her up, and release a torrent of ranged attacks, forcing you to constantly be on the move while attacking, dodging the bullet hell mechanics while keeping the pressure on. And if you happen to die, don't worry, as you can resurrect on the spot up to 2 times in a level by sacrificing a portion of your score, which for me was about 300k. Not too bad if you're just looking to beat the demo, but like DMC, blasphemous if you're trying to get the higher score. Now the obvious question is, how can I keep my combo going and improve my score? Well, that's simple. Shoot enemies in sync with the music, and use packs when enemies aren't around to keep your meter from depleting. Oh, and dodge the enemy attacks, of course. And for those of you who want to try to climb the leaderboards, here are some tips that may come in handy. Number 1. Executing enemies not only gives you health back, but awards more score. So just like Doom, you want to get as many of these as possible. 2. Both executions and your dodge can animation skip your reload. So if you start reloading and either dodge or execute an enemy, your gun will be fully loaded afterwards, allowing you to deal more damage faster. 3. What's also important to note is the destructible items in the environment, like pots, health crystals, and exploding crystals, not only can increase your combo meter, but they also award bonus points. So whenever you see them, for the love of God, shoot them. And lastly, there are power-ups around the map that increase your meter. Even if you are at the max, you want to pick these up because they still award bonus score. And there you go. Hopefully these tips will have you guys climbing the demo's leaderboards in no time. Overall, I am really looking forward to this game, and while there are a few kinks that need to be worked out, I can't help but feel optimistic. As the art direction is fantastic, the gunplay is tight and fun, the music is easily the highlight of the demo, and I can already tell this is going to be one of my most played games this year. If the only negatives I have about a game are performance, then that game is probably going to be something special. Metal Hellsinger is set to release on September 15th, and I for one cannot wait to play more. Thank you all for watching. Like, share, or subscribe if you feel so inclined. As always, to stay up to date on all things crab, you can follow me on Twitter via the link in the description below, and I'll see you all in the next video.